Yes, indeed, it is Splash Radio. And welcome to the Driving Sound Radio. And as promised, we've got Alene Mathurin on the phone line. And for that, let's just pot her up and say, good evening to Alene. How are you this evening? Let's do that again. Oh my goodness, what can I say? I just hit the wrong button and I took her offline. My bad. But in any event, we're waiting for her to call me back. And of course, we'll get her live. That's what happens when you have itchy fingers. Let me see if I can. Oh, here she comes again. Alene, I expect you to be calling back. If that's you, I must apologize and say my bad. Alene?
I'm sorry, it is me, and I was saying thank you for being an incredible host, and thank you to all the wonderful listeners out there.
Indeed, and you know something, Alene? It's me and my nervous self pushing the wrong buttons.
If it makes you feel any better, I am just as nervous as you.
I get the listeners in the radio land, they are laughing like heck. They're like, what the heck? Anyway, welcome to the program, Alene. And our listeners, they heard you earlier talking to Obi-Wan. And of course, it's about a wonderful book that you have written. And you are a writer, per se, and the book is to be released all over and can be bought at various locations come May 31st. Am I correct?
That is correct. The book is going to be out, like you said, on May 31st through Amazon.com, through CreateSpace.com, and also through BarnesandNoble.com. It is a very timely book because I think we have good conversation in there. There's incredible information in there that a lot of caregivers can actually, find very useful.
And once again, for the listeners' convenience and information, could you tell the title of that book?
The book is titled A Guide for Developing a Successful Family and Nanny Relationship. It is very important, it's paramount in order to be able to serve effectively, to have good relationship. And so the book pretty much talks about how do you achieve that relationship that, would breed longevity on the job, wholesomeness to the family, and an atmosphere that's conducive for everyone to be able to thriving.
Nice, wonderful. Now, is this the first book you've written so far?
No, it's not. The story goes as a young child from St. Lucia. Apparently, I wrote on everything that I could find.
Wow.
I had really a lot of imaginary friends, so it's been something that I've done for a lifetime. I love writing. 4 years ago, I was very fortunate to have had my first children's book published. I have this book, the guidebook, and I have another children's book that is due to be released in, the end of August this year, and also a spiritual book that's a Christmas book due to be released sometime late October.
Nice. Now, for the purpose, once again, listeners, information, some of the places that they can get a hold before we delve or sink our teeth into more of the publishing of the book and the contents of its book. Where can our listening audience find copies of your book?
Through Amazon.com. Of course, Amazon is like a giant out there. They are going to be carrying my book, Amazon.com. Through CreateSpace.com, the parent company is, of course, Amazon. Through another giant, which is BarnesandNoble.com. And I will be doing a lot of book tours and book parties and launching out in the New Jersey, New York area. And I would love to, have good conversation, sign a few books, and dialogue with my community.
Indeed. Now, let's just somewhat touch on the surface of this book. We've moved through the thesis of your book. Can you just give us some excerpts from your book, areas of concern, some of your experience. Of course, you've had some experience for you to be writing this book, so you're sharing your experience with our listeners and readers, should I say, the world over. Some of the areas you might want to touch on in your wonderful book.
Some of the areas are pretty much the cornerstone for having a strong family and nanny relationship. And I talk a lot about mutual respect as you know, we take it for granted, but that is one of the cornerstones for developing a successful family and nanny relationship. The ability to be able to effectively dialogue and communicate about things that you are either happy with or things that you are disgruntled with. We talk about simple things that we learned, especially as a Caribbean community. We were brought up with, you know, basic dignities like honesty and integrity, and being able, of course, to maintain effective boundaries, whether it's boundaries of your personal life and also the family's personal life. So it's a whole, it is a monster of stuff that is involved in being able to cultivate good relationships, family, nanny relationships.
Relative to relationships, still on that topic, once one becomes a caregiver, there's a certain amount of intimacy that one develops with the person of whom they're giving the care to. Did you cover on the separation aspect? Let's say it comes to a time where either through death or one has got to move on to another job. How does a caregiver at times handle the separation aspect of breaking away from someone whom they have been taking care of for years? Maybe it's just another job they move on to, or the person expired, making it maybe a child, an elderly person, or what have you. Did you cover areas of that aspect?
Absolutely. One of the things that I covered is as cliche as it sounds, is not burning the bridges that we've crossed. And in some situations, obviously, you know, caregivers may need to sever ties with a family because maybe they left because the situation was not amicable and it did not leave on good terms. But for the most part, what happens when you are in this world is that because there's so much emotional intimacy, that you develop such a good, sometimes again, rapport with the family. In many ways, they become an extension to your own family. And so what I see out there is that a lot of caregivers actually have some sort of communication or even dialogue with the family even after a death, if it's, for example, in case of a senior care companion relationship, or if they have to move on, maybe the family has migrated to a different city, they still are able to maintain relationships somewhat with that family. Again, it depends on what happened at the end of the day, why the caregiver had to move on.
Let's stay within the same realm, but take a little step tangent-wise and say, being a caregiver, it is not an easy job. No, there are sacrifices that one has to make. How does a caregiver handle the day-to-day aspect of one's social engagement? Per se, a lover, a child, being away from that loved one weeks at a time. I mean, how does one handle that? I'm sure it puts certain amount of strain on the relationship, whether it be an intimate relationship or just a family-child relationship. That aspect, I'd like you to expound on that.
It's a very good question, and it's a question that I actually touched on a lot in my book, because we have several dynamics to your very good question. We have the mom who has migrated from the Caribbean, who has her own children in some island in the Caribbean, and there she is in this big city, getting acclimated to a new family, taking care of children, and she also has her own children back in the Caribbean. This could be very emotionally daunting, to say the least. However, the reason why I celebrate so much the work that caregivers do is because they're able to understand that I need to do what needs to be done at the moment, and some of them are able to do it very, very successfully. We have also situations where caregivers are doing live-in jobs. They have left their spouse, they have left their children, the privacy and intimacy of their homes, and now are in somebody else's home Monday through to Saturday, and in some cases, sometimes 7 days a week. And one of the things that I touched on in my book is ensuring that you are also maintaining a good relationship at home while you're cultivating that relationship with another family. So I touch on, stuff as much as sex and intimacy, making sure that this aspect of your life is taken care of, making sure every partner understands the sacrifices involved, and making sure that, you do not allow your physical needs to cause you to violate the privacy of a family. So, all of that a caregiver can find in my book, being able, of course, to maintain very healthy balance, even when you are on a job 6 days a week and you're tempted to say, come over to the husband. So we talk about everything, pretty much everything in the book.
Folks, we're speaking to Miss Alene Mathurin, and of course she is the author of a wonderful book, A Guide for Success. Could you once again tell us the title? It's A Guide for Developing a Successful Nanny Relationship. Did I hit it right?
Yes, family and nanny relationship. And when I say nanny, I am not leaving out the other important aspect of caregivers, like the housekeepers and the senior care companions and the babysitters. Nanny in many ways has taken on lots of meanings, and it extends itself. In fact, it lends itself out to other aspects of caregiving, like the ones that I mentioned earlier.
Now, a young lady coming out of the Caribbean, and she's somewhat, because I've seen this happen to relatives, not close, but distant relatives of yours truly. A lady comes up, and she has got family member here, and one of the quickest way to somewhat gain gainful employment is to become a nanny. Now, these young ladies might enter into homes, and of course we're taking off from what you say before, prior this question, on a tangent. How does a young lady without any form of experience enter into one's home? Of course, we're talking about the process of acculturation here. There might be different cultures within that home, and here this is a young lady coming from the Caribbean, and she walks into a home, and there is a section of abuse. How does a young lady like this handles it? She don't want to walk off the job because apparently where she comes, she is staying there temporarily. So this is an outlet for her to be away from the people who probably sponsor her. Now, here comes abuse. What advice do you have to give these young folks who are listening to you? I'm sure there are a lot of them listening to you right now. How should they handle it? Walk off the job? Call 911? How would you handle it in a professional manner?
Well, in a professional manner, the first thing I say to someone who's been violated, someone who is taken advantage of where laws are seemingly broken, it has to be addressed and dealt with immediately. I think I have very little tolerance when it comes to anyone abusing anybody, and especially, a vulnerable woman. So I say it depends on the extremity of it. It might be a case where it's something that she thinks that she can handle. If it's not physical and verbal abuse, maybe it might be that she's working a little extra hours. Something that is workable, I think we can sort it out. But when it comes to being violated, again, whether it's physically or, physically, emotionally, I say that has to be dealt with accordingly. Again, all situations are different, and one needs to know, when it is too much, and walk away. So that is very important, to be able to define that situation that you're in at the present.
Well said. Now, your website, mynannycircle.com, some of the information provided on your blog to help some of our listeners before buying your book, they can always go and browse your website. Some of the information here, I think you have started an outlet where folks can get information as to things like employment, such as, can you expound?
Absolutely. The reason I was very particular about, setting up the blog, because I realized there was a need for an outlet such as what we just spoke about, where someone can go on my blog and pretty much, without even having their name out there, say, this is the situation that I'm in. What should I do in this situation? And she's going to have an audience where people are going to be able to guide her as to what to do. So I think the blog is imperative because it's empowering, because you are in a community of people with similar interest. There is also a job board on my blog, and the job board is pretty much there for parents to be able, and when I say parents, I mean families that are looking for household help, to be able to go on my blog.
Hello, I hope I didn't lose her at this point, and I guess I just lost her, but she should be calling back momentarily. No hiccups from yours truly end, but I'd love for Miss Mathurin to call us back. And this is a wonderful website, folks, and you should check it out. Naturally, it's mynannycircle.com. Go and check out the website. There's a lot of information there. And, of course, I'd like for the family to go get the book to be released, are available in most stores on May 31st. All right. This is Splash Radio, and as a psychobabble and await her call, I hope that it was something that can be dealt with in a timely manner, because we'd love to continue with this rap session with Miss Alene Mathurin. Let's go back to Adele while we... here she... I hope this is her calling back. Let me see if I can pot her up and say, good evening. Here and here. Is that Miss Mathurin?
It is me. Could you tell your listeners that you got excited again, Rupi?
Yes, I will. As I'm back to...
Yes.
No, I don't. Honestly, I'm not sure what happened when that call was dropped, but you were deep into something and it just fell out. So if you can remember where you were, and we continue from that aspect.
Absolutely. I think we were talking about the job board on mynannycircle.com.
Yes.
And I was just saying that the job board is pretty much for families to be able to post help wanted ads. Likewise, it is for the caregivers to be able to post job wanted ads, and through the job board, caregivers and families can pretty much meet. So that is the purpose of the job board. But what I'm really excited about is the blog, because the blog, again, allows people to put information out there, information that we might think that's not useful, but in many ways somebody else, it might be of need to somebody else. So I go in weekly and I blog about something, and it's not just caregiving aspect. We talk about social aspect. We talk about health, and not just physical health, but emotional health, because the job of a caregiver is so emotionally and physically daunting at times that we need to, pretty much touch on every aspect of that job.
Now, here's something that I noticed on your blog, and it's very interesting. Folks might think you're just catering to caregivers, but under one of the recent posts on your page, I see a quote here. You're hiring a nanny. What should you look for? Can you expound on that?
Absolutely. Exactly, because I have a lot of families that are actually following me on my blog through the events that I host in New York. I know that families are dialoguing about what's taking place on the blog. And sometimes the reason why there isn't successful family and nanny relationship is because sometimes it's simply out of sheer ignorance. And I use that word very loosely, sorry. It is because I have never done that before, for example, as a family. I do not know what to look for. I do not know what the expectations are. And so I am prone to making mistakes along the way. And so on my blog, I do not only offer caregivers advice, I also lend a hand to the families. So, what should you look for in a nanny if you're hiring a nanny? And for me, the important thing is understanding someone that shares the same values as you do, someone that shares, that is compatible to your family's, moral construct, someone that is seemingly someone who can be an could add on value to your family. And so this is the reason why now I'm touching, a lot of information also for the hiring families.
Oh, stepping outside of your blog, and of course, other things that you are involved and have engaged your limited time. I don't know how you do it. Recently, I saw on your Facebook a wonderful young lady in Jamaica where she was wearing the wonderful sash of my nanny. Where you find time to do these things and explain to our listening audience what we're talking about, or yours truly is talking about.
Okay, well, one of the things that I'm very proud of that, is that I think that I can do all things. The reason why I can, because my father says that I can do all things through him who strengthens me. I get my strength from God himself, and so it empowers me. With that empowerment comes responsibility. And although I'm from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, the Caribbean, the entire Caribbean is my backbone. And so I sponsored a young lady from Jamaica because I was able to identify with her story. I wanted to tell her that she could do anything she chooses to do. I wanted to tell her that she was part of a greater community, that the eyes of the Caribbean women were on her, and that's the reason why I sponsored her, because although the generosity and goodness they sometimes say starts from home, I think home for me is the entire Caribbean. Home for me is Jamaica. It is St. Lucia. It is we are part of an incredible community, and that's why I don't only do stuff for my St. Lucian community. I see home again as my, the entire Caribbean.
Thank you very much for keeping the Caribbean monolithic. Indeed.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to hold you over much longer because I know your son had a birthday celebration today and you're a wonderful and busy mom. What's the name of the little young man so I can say good evening to him?
My son is Elijah. He is, like he says, I'm a pre-teenager. That's very important, Ruby.
Uh-huh.
He's turning 12 on Tuesday. And, one of the roles that I love to play the most, Ruby, is mommy. Mm-hmm. I love being a mom. I cannot tell you how much I love being a mother. And it is my pride, he's my pride and my joy. So he is Elijah.
Yeah, indeed. Elijah, congratulations on your upcoming birthday. You'll be 12 years of age. And in the Bible, 12 means a lot. All right? For real.
Yes. He would love to hear that.
Naturally. Well, I'm going to do something wonderful for you. I'm going to pass on the excerpts of this year's conversation, and so you can have it and archive it. All right? So once again, thanking you
so much.
Thanking you for joining us. And of course, once again, the blog, the website is mynannycircle.com. And of course, she's the author of a book to be released come May 31st. And could you do the honors for me and tell me the title of this intriguing book, please? Go
ahead. It is a guide for developing a successful family and nanny relationship.
Thank you very much.
And yes, it is possible.
Indeed, that's the voice of Miss Alene Mathurin. And of course, in the face of your foregoing, once again, could you expound, amplify the sound, the names, the location where your book can be added come May 31st? It's yours.
Absolutely. I am going to keep our listeners in tune as to when I'm going to actually be in New York and the New Jersey area. But you can get my book from Amazon.com, through CreateSpace.com, and through BarnesandNoble.com.
Once again, a very good evening to you, and have yourself a terrific evening, what's left of it, and come Monday, a productive week. Okay, Miss Mathurin?
Thank you, and I would like to take a minute to say thank you for being an incredible host. I was very, very anxious, to be on the program, but you've made it very, very wonderful, and I want to thank our listening audience out there. And again, follow me on my blog at mynannycircle.com, and let's have some constructive dialogue.
Indeed, and of course, I must say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. The pleasure was always here. Yours truly, Rupert, and courtesy of Splash Radio and Obi-Wan for providing us with such a wonderful medium by which we can interact with our community folks and empowering in one community, one person, and the world at large. Thank you very much once again, and you have yourself a wonderful evening.
Good evening.
That's the sound of Miss Alene Mathurin. And of course, she's got a wonderful book out, and I'd love for the family to go get it. And it's called A Guide to Developing a Successful Family and Nanny Relationship. The book to be released May 31st. Our blog, mynannycircle.com. This, of course, is Splash Radio. This is the Rupert T's Experience. Thanks for joining us. You didn't have to, but you did. We make the difference. A station designed with you in mind. And, of course, we want to thank Miss Mathurin once again, as I know you're in love with her now, and she's making you love her. Naturally, we continue. Much more of your music. This is Adele. What a wonderful song to play in the foregoing of that wonderful rap session. Adele. Splash Radio. Yours truly until 9 p.m.